So I'm Nicolas Fränkel. I've been doing Java development for like 17 or 18 years now. 6 months ago, I decided it was cool to get paid to go to drink beer at conferences, so I changed my job to developer advocate. I work for a cloud company called Exoscale. We are selling cloud instances, computing and storage. So in case, who is already using the cloud here? 3 people. Who knows about the Cloud Act among those 4 people? You don't know about the Cloud Act? The Cloud Act is a very interesting law in the US that says if you contract with a US company, the government has legally access to your data wherever the data center is located. Yeah, as you say. So it's not super fun. So if you are using the cloud, if you value the privacy of your customers, I urge you to check companies that are not US-based. So we are not US-based. We basically have 4 data centers in Switzerland, Germany, and Austria, and we value privacy. Okay, time for a demo. Okay, so who knows already about Docker? Yeah, that's what I expected. So basically, you want to run your image. I will run an image, and this image just outputs stuff on the log, on the std out. Story, Mr. Dash, demo effect. Is it big enough? Yes? No? Yes? Okay. That's fine. You've got your logs, and now you have enough of your logs, and you want to stop the logs. And the problem is you didn't only stop the logs. Sorry. You stop the container as well. So here I will just stop this one, which shouldn't be on. It's not the same one that I just started because it's called logo one in that case, but it's just to stop the noise. So actually, when I want to see the logs of my container, it's automatic when I don't run it as a detached stuff. But when I want to stop the logs, I stop the container as well, which is not what you want to do. So perhaps what we can do is we can start an existing image and attach to it, and perhaps it will be better. Let's see. So I still have the logs, everything is fine. I want to stop showing the logs. And I also stop the container. Doesn't work that well. So, okay, perhaps we just want to start the container. And what we'll be doing is we will be attaching to it afterwards. Again, we have the logs. That's fine. Let's stop. Lost the container again. That sucks. So let's try something else. Here we can say, hey, there is a stuff called detach keys. So perhaps we'll try to use detach keys to put it out of Control-C. So we will docker attach and detach keys equals Control-C-TRL-A to logger1. Okay, let's try Control-E. Something happens, but obviously doesn't work. PC8. Okay, let's try to be smart about it. We see here there is another option called seek proxy. So if I start it again, start, and I docker attach using seek proxy equals false, and then I use logger1 as an argument, and I control C, and I docker ps. It's still running. Finally. Thank you. Finally, I got that running. So basically, the problem is when you type Control C, when you press on Control C, it sends a SIGTERM signal. You do it on your local host, but you also do it for the running image. So the only thing that you need to say is stop proxying that Control C, just stop the running process on my machine and not on the image. Okay, that's fine. Actually, it's at the beginning, because if you have been working with Docker a bit, you know that there is something called Docker logs that gets you all the logs. But really all the logs. Not fun. If you are interested in the latest, that might be a bit awkward. So the good thing is that there is something like tail, you know, tail f, then there is logs f. And you've got the tail as well. That works pretty well, and of course, if you do Docker logs like that, then you can Control C and it's still running, you have no issues. Now the question is, this log is somewhere on the disk, right? So the question is, perhaps now if we are interested in, I don't know, scrapping it for, I don't know, Elasticsearch or whatever, we must know about its location. So let's check. For that, we can docker inspect the logger1, and we've got a lot of information. So, okay, let's be a bit smart. Here, finally, I have the location. Actually, greping is not the best way to do that, because we've got these like key value stuff. Inspect has a nice option about the format. The problem is that you must know exactly what you're searching for, and the way it's written is really bad. Okay, works for you? Great. So now I can check this file, and it doesn't exist. Opportune. Why? Where is this file? Actually, no, it's on the host. But since I'm using not a real Linux machine, but a Mac, you know that I'm running a container inside a VM. So since I don't have Linux, this doesn't exist. So I must get inside the VM. And because I'm really, really super lazy, and I don't know that everything by heart, I need to use this TTY. And now I must get this path again. No, doesn't work super great. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to check now that inside this VM if this file exists. Yes, this file does exist. And if I tell it, So I have the right one. Now I'm inside the VM. It's not super fun. It's very hard to do that. You shouldn't want to do that. So, and to get out of that, you must press a combination of key that is no fun. So it's very hard to do that on your own computer unless you have Linux installed and you have like native Docker. So what I will be doing, I will be using the cloud. So since I'm working for a company that provides cloud instances, I've created cloud instance on Exascale, so I can go there and say, okay, I should SSH to this stuff. And here I am. So please don't overflow the Wi-Fi because otherwise I will be in deep trouble. Now I'm online. So let's do the same. I will docker start logger 1. And now what I want to do is docker inspect format equals. It's still the same, long string, but here it exists. Okay, so I don't have to go through this VM. What you can do now is use centralized logging. In general, it's not a good idea to try to get the logs out of a container because the container, they come and they go. They don't have real names. So what you want to do is to get the logs and to send them somewhere. So for that, I have written FileBeat. And what I will be using is a simple Docker run command that I've already created. It's just to show you how I created it. The only thing interesting is here, there is an Elasticsearch that I need to start first, otherwise it won't work. Okay, and then I should be good. Everybody knows about Elasticsearch, right? I don't have to tell you about everything again, or do I? No? Fine? Fine. Okay. So, and the configuration file, well, it's not funny, because now I have to tell about the exact path on the file system. But let's check if it works. So I can do docker start FileBeat volog. And normally I should have, yes, so I have the logger one, I have the Elasticsearch, and I have the one that I've just started now. And now because I don't know everything by heart, I need just to copy paste and to check that everything is fine here. So normally here it's the right time, it's just that there is an hour time difference because the server has another time zone. So it's good. You see that Elasticsearch gets my data. However, again, this configuration is actually not what you want to do, because then you know about the path of every container, and those paths, they may come and they may go, and it's not good. So what I will do, I will first stop the FileBeat volog, and I will see if there is another one available that does nearly the same thing. Nearly the same thing. The only difference is that I've got another YAML configuration, and this YAML configuration is a bit better. So at least here, we don't have the path anymore. We just have the ID of the container, meaning that Elasticsearch FileBeat understands how it works under the hood, so it handles the abstraction for you. So it's marginally better, perhaps not perfect, but let's check if it still works. So yeah, it still works. That's good. Now let's stop it and okay. Now something interesting. Sometimes your application, it just, you don't want to read files because, again, you don't know where they are. What you want is to send events. So instead of writing the file and scrapping it with FileBeat, what you can do is you will just send an event to Logstash, for example, and then it will be handled by Elasticsearch again. So I will start my Logstash. In that case, this is the configuration. You need to provide two things, the log driver, and this is Guelph, this is set in stone, and the Guelph address, so where you will be sending your data. And here it's Logstash. Before I had a link, like a network link to Elasticsearch from FileBeat. Here I have a link from this to Logstash. Let's check if it still works. Yes, so here the index is a bit different. It's another one. No, very bad. Why it was not created? I didn't stop. I didn't start. Docker start logger 1A. Much better. Is anybody following? Okay, then help me when I do something bad, please. Otherwise, I feel all alone here. Okay, and yes, where is my timestamp? It's here. So I got the message that I want. Of course, the JSON is different. It's not the same way, but I still got everything I need to get the ball rolling. Yep, works for you? Perfect, now I can stop it. And now it happens that you don't write on std out, actually. Most of the time, most of our application, they don't write on std out inside the container or outside, by the way. Where does your logs are written in applications, if you are using Tomcat or whatever? File system, of course. So the issue is basically all that I showed you previously never applies, or very seldom, because actually you don't write on std out. I mean, unless you are using Spring Boot, executable jars, then it logs on std out. Otherwise, it's very seldom. So for that, I have an application that and the only difference with this application, if I find it again, is here, yes, is that I'm redirecting to something called var mylog dummy-log. So it's just the only difference. What we can do is we can check inside it. I always forget how you write it. So okay, so now I'm exactly logging inside. That should work pretty well. So what would you do at that point? You've got a container that writes inside its file system log file. What should you do?
Well, write the Docker file and change the output to change.
No, the image you don't have, you have only the image, you don't have the Docker file actually.
Map the directory?
Sorry?
Map the directory?
Yeah. So actually what we can do is we map the directory. Oh, something that I forgot to mention and that is very, very important. You remember about the events with Docker, with logger 1a? You lose Docker logs comment. That's very, very important. I forgot to mention it. So as soon as you use even-based sending, you cannot access the logs anymore. So let's get me back to that. So what we'll be doing is actually you should expose the volume inside your Docker file. That's for sure. And what you can do is file beats sidecar. You will be mapping the volumes from your image to the volumes of this new file bit image. And this is called the sidecar pattern. So basically your two containers will be side by side. You don't taint your original image with FileBit. It doesn't know anything about it. It's very focused. It's self-contained. And then you add an additional feature using this sidecar stuff. And it's done. So the configuration is super easy. Here, it's just the standard path that you would expect from inside the container. So the important stuff is that the host doesn't know anything about it. You stay, I mean, it could run anywhere, you don't care. And when you write that, you don't have to know exactly how it works inside. You just say, hey, I will just like wire the two together. Is that clear? Yes? Okay, great. So now I can Docker which one is started, which one is not. So I have my logger, I can stop this one. Docker stop logger 1a. I can stop logstash also because here logstash is not necessary anymore. Ah, thank you. Ah, one is following. And now I can start my image. Logger 2. Sorry. FileBeat. Ooh. And this is sidecar. Okay, now I will check again that everything is fine. And yes, it's the right time. Works for you? And my message is exactly what I wrote in the log anyway. Okay. Not this one, this one. Okay, so just a bit of a sum up. Docker attach. You shouldn't use it. You really, really shouldn't use it. But if you need to use it, don't ever forget to option sig proxy false. Otherwise, you will be in deep trouble because, like, if you want to detach, you will just kill the container, and you never, never want to do that. You must think, what do you want? Is it file-based or event-based? Both have pros and cons. Like, in one case, you will need filebit to scrap the log, and on the other side, you will need logstash to send the log to. If you used event-based, you lose Docker logs. Pro and con. And actually, since you never know the name of your container, or you shouldn't, because they are cattle, not pets, they shouldn't have nice names, they should be like, and you just kill them and re-up them, you need to have a centralized logging system. I used Elasticsearch, but you can use Splunk, you can use whatever rocks your boat, but actually going to a container and checking the log is probably an anti-pattern if you do the things right. Okay, thanks for his attention. Here is my blog. Here is my Twitter handle. And you can check the whole article that goes into a bit deeper detail at this address. So now, if you have any questions, I will be happy to listen to them.